Real people, steel people. When it comes to quality, reliability, and value, they just won't compromise. See Steel Stories and join the conversation.
Fort Myers top cop out of a job.
There's a need for fresh and new leadership.
Chief Doug Baker was fired today after an internal investigation found he lied about the botched arrest of Nate Allen. The NFL player was arrested in February, wrongly accused of exposing himself to a teenage girl.
We are very pleased with the city manager's decision.
Tonight, what's next for the department and how much will it cost taxpayers? The former chief told NBC2 he's disappointed by the decision, but says he has no hard feelings towards city leaders. The former chief maintains he was telling the truth about phone calls he made the night Allen was arrested. NBC2's Ty Russell is live in our studio with the breaking developments. And I can't really say that anybody's surprised by this because there's been talk for weeks, the union, calling him out, wanting him fired.
Yeah, exactly. There's been the union. There's also been some attorneys. But former Chief Baker tells me he remembered making a phone call and having a short conversation. And if he didn't remember it correctly, that's not considered being untruthful. I talked to Allen's attorney today who says Baker should have been fired for the wrongful arrest, not a phone call.
Yes, we've been asking for our council or our city manager to remove Chief Baker or former Chief Baker.
Nate Allen and his attorney got part of what they wanted today, but they are fighting for more.
This is just the beginning for Mr. Allen, and it's just the beginning for the city of Fort Myers.
Allen's attorney wants a consulting firm to help out the police department now that Doug Baker is no longer police chief. The police union also wanted Baker out when they told me he lied.
This is not just me. This wasn't personal. This was our union. We all stood together.
An outside agency determined Baker lied the day Allen was arrested. But the former chief tells me he remembered calling Captain Duke Perry back in February. He says that call was short and it was to release Allen when he was falsely accused of exposing himself to a teen girl. That ultimately led to Baker getting the boot.
There's a need for fresh and new leadership.
But Allen's attorney says it should have been about the botched arrest in general instead of a phone call.
The city manager investigating the phone records is a joke.
And now that there's new leadership, Allen and his attorney are hopeful for a change.
Although we're encouraged that they may be starting over, we're going to have to wait and see what they do.
And we are looking into the contract of Doug Baker. Now, we asked the city manager whether this termination will cost taxpayers anything, and he refused to tell me. He just says the city will honor what's in the contract. Live in the studio, Ty Russell, NBC2.
Captain Dennis Eads will serve as the department's interim chief. He was sworn in this afternoon. Eads has been with the department for nearly 29 years.
Real people, steel people. When it comes to quality, reliability, and value, they just won't compromise. See Steel Stories and join the conversation.
Breaking new information tonight. Former Fort Myers Police Chief Doug Baker, who was fired today for lying, tells NBC2 he's sticking to his story. It's the culmination of months of investigation that started when NFL player Nate Allen was wrongfully arrested by Baker's officers. NBC2's Ty Russell is live in our newsroom right now. And Ty, you just got off the phone with the chief. What did he have to say?
Yeah, Kelly, former Chief Baker tells me he is disappointed that the city manager fired him, but he says he has the utmost respect for city leaders. And he also tells me he doesn't consider what he did being untruthful, which led to him getting the boot.
It's one thing to make a mistake. It's another thing to lie and cover something up.
Matt Sellers with the Fort Myers Police Union is relieved
That there was a problem with the leadership, and it went right to the top.
Fort Myers Police Chief Doug Baker fired today. His boss, City Manager William Mitchell, says change was needed.
There's a need for fresh and new leadership.
This comes after an outside agency determined Doug Baker never actually talked to Captain Duke Perry just before 9 that night in February. That's when Baker says he gave the order to release Nate Allen when he was wrongfully arrested. Baker tells me he remembered a phone call and a conversation happening. But
Thanks did not support Chief Baker's assertion that he had a conversation.
The mayor says that ultimately led to Baker being let go, but Henderson believes Baker's record is mostly positive.
He has been a very successful police chief.
Now, the city manager has appointed Captain Dennis Eads as interim police chief. The union supports him.
I have a good relationship with him, and we should be able to move forward.
The city manager retires next month, so it's up to the new one to hire a permanent chief. But until then, the city says
I have a good relationship with him, and we should be able to move forward.
Fort Myers have always been safe with the services rendered by the Fort Myers Police Department.
Baker also told me he appreciates the relationships that he has made in the city. Now, we also told you this morning the union and the city manager were going to meet this afternoon. That meeting was canceled. Live in the newsroom, Ty Russell, NBC2.